and welcome to the Quax podcast.
Welcome back, everyone.
I'm Lucas, your host, along with Brion, our other host.
I am here.
We are both here. How's it going, man?
It's good, dude. It's been weird. We had it was 90 degrees a couple days ago, and I was on my way here tonight, and it was freezing. I was I'm not equipped for it.
Well, I went camping this last weekend.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and we picked a spot out and we looked up the weather and it was like 50 to 70 degrees. So perfect in the woods, all that stuff. It was freezing. Like, I don't know if the weather was wrong, but we were so cold in this tent. We were just frigid. And we had our little dog with us and the poor dog was like shivering at night. And so we were trying to like put blankets on him and like snuggle up with him. But he was like, no, I'm living my dog life. I don't want blankets. And so like he kept getting out and like just shivering and walking around. And it was awful. So we were slated to do 2 nights, but we only did 1 night. But you know.
Wow. You wouldn't have thought that this time of year normally is like prime camping, hiking weather. But
I know. Maybe just another week or two, and then it'd be good.
It's all of these benefits we're getting from climate change. Everyone's poo-pooing climate change, but here in Phoenix, we are benefiting.
That's right. It's going to get so hot that it'll drive all the bad people away.
We think, but if this climate change thing in my theory holds, it's going to be very tropical out this summer.
Oh, nice.
You're welcome.
Humid.
I would actually take the summer in Phoenix any day of the week, 120, than ever spending another day in Savannah, Georgia in August.
Yes.
That is brutal.
That sounds terrible.
It's like 110% humidity.
Yeah, that's awful. But enough about the weather.
Did we really just talk about the weather for about 5 minutes?
You know, talking about the weather, it's like one of the most boring things to talk about.
It is, but it's the only thing it's the only commonality that people have. We all live in the same weather.
Yeah. Generally. Yeah. How are you doing? Anything new?
No, not too much new. I mean, that sounds boring.
You had some kind of stomach bug. Did you get a stomach bug?
I did, but I think that was food based. I think I got a hold of some bad Brussels sprouts.
Ooh.
There is an argument that all Brussels sprouts are bad Brussels sprouts. I actually enjoy them, but I cooked some for my daughter and myself. She got violently ill, and I got a little bit sick.
Wow.
Yeah, wasn't pleasant, but yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I got to relive that horror.
Yeah, you know, you gotta talk. You gotta be real, man. This is about being real, like food poisoning and all. You know.
Oh well, it was very real. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get on to the show. We have an article and a couple other things we want to cover, but first, let's do this article that I found.
Let's do it.
So this week, it's an interesting study from the mainstream media. I saw this on Fox and the Washington Post. And the article says, number of American adults not having sex reaches all-time high, report says.
Wow.
So basically, the Washington Post, they analyzed the latest data from the General Social Survey on people aged 18 to 30. And they found that 23% of adults, so 1 in 4 basically, said that they had not had sex in the past year at all.
What?
Yeah. And if you break this up into genders, that's 18% of women and 28% of men. So it's mostly men. But to give you an idea of how significant this is, 10 years ago, the rate for men was around 10%. So it's tripled in the last decade.
Along with broadband and Wi-Fi speed.
I was not making that connection.
But I do think that has something to do with it. If we are being real, I definitely think that has to be part of it, besides, what, hormones and food? I mean...
The bank bailout? I don't know.
It's very suspicious, but I think technology definitely plays a role in that. And what we're talking about, the elephant in the room, is porn. But I would think that definitely, because of the access. I mean, obviously times are different than when I grew up. So, I mean, kids and people in their 20s, it's a whole different animal. So that's alarming though to me, but it's also like, okay.
Yeah. Well, they gave a couple of reasons that I thought were kind of hilarious. They said that there's a decline in the number of men in their 20s in the labor force. And I guess there's other stats that show that your employment status has a lot to do with whether you're in a relationship or not.
Because of confidence, maybe.
Yeah, well,
or
that or
funds.
I mean,
to date.
It's like what are those things on Reddit? It's like a PSA. Get a job, get a girlfriend. They kind of go hand in hand.
They kind of do. It's not a big sale. It's not a big sell, or it's a hard sell to pull it. Well, what do you do?
Unless you're a trust fund baby. So the other factor they blamed was that more men than women live at home with their parents, which makes sex difficult.
That's true.
Yeah. Lastly, they said that there are more things to do now at 10 p.m. at night than there was 20 years ago, like Netflix and social media and console games.
You know what? There's something to that, too. Oh, my gosh. That's so funny.
I mean, they're just pulling these out of their butt.
Maybe, but I wonder if this trend holds true around the world, or if this is just something that's local to the Western world.
I don't know. This was just in America, so who knows?
Wow.
I definitely do know that fertility and stuff is dropping in a lot of the developed world compared to the emerging markets, as they would say.
Yeah, and there could be a lot of arguments for that. I mean, obviously, everything from hormonal implementation to the food structure. And anything. But that's crazy because it is almost like this, or maybe it's just the natural order, population control from the natural order.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, that's definitely happening. We're having population decrease with the less sex means less kids, I would imagine.
Yeah, I thought you said New World Order.
No.
I'm like,
that's my other podcast.
Yeah, it could be, man. Those,
But it really could be. I mean, let's be honest. Maybe this is an accidental. See, you went down this road.
Those Freemasons, man.
See, you're trying to stoke the fire now.
It's the Illuminati.
We'll stick to what
Bohemian Grove, bro. It happens every year. So anyway, talking about sex, you had some stories about men who were, I think men mostly, who were at the health food store who had problems and
right,
yeah, had things turn around.
Well, they definitely want to, people who are having problems in that area. First and foremost, they want to talk to a guy about this stuff. So by default, I'm the only guy there sometimes. So I get saddled with this stuff, which is great because it's been a wealth of knowledge for me. And I got to see how some of these things turn out. But I had a guy come in that was plant-based, had a vegan lifestyle.
Yeah.
That had completely not had any libido. And aside from not having any libido, like had the mechanics to perform if he did have a libido for a long time, for years, where he just basically said, I guess that part of my life is over with. And just so happened that he was trying a vegan diet for health purposes, for other, health related issues. And the offshoot was he just found himself being in his 50s and having a libido that resembled when he was 14, 15 years old. Like when you first start coming into your own as a man, as it were, going through those changes and finding out what a libido is in kind of a crazed way. But he said that he was reduced to that state, almost like a primal. It changed everything for him.
Wow.
And he said it was like after just a few weeks of eating a plant-based diet.
So a vegan diet could look like a lot of different things, right? Did he go into what his version of it was?
So he did, the first thing that he said he eliminated was dairy. And then, he eats largely just literally vegetables and fruit, not even, a lot of breads and stuff. Cause I know that he said that wheat and flour and all these things are also things that he avoids. So
wow,
it was pretty interesting because that's definitely something that concerns me being a man in my 40s. I go, is the clock ticking on that side of things? And you start thinking about that sort of thing. So it was cool. I just so happened to have a plant-based lifestyle. So, I was like, oh, that's cool. But, it's completely changed his life. Now we sell a ton of products. So I get to hear a lot of different people come in and give their testimonials on what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And one of the big things that another guy that was talking to me about his libido was tribulus, which is an herb.
Yes.
And it's in a lot of different formulations that are libido related, but he was taking one in particular and said that he was taking it for working out, and he'd already been having issues in that department too. And had prostate issues too, which are also related to such things. So
yeah,
he started this Tribulus formulation, and he said overnight he was having results. And when we're talking about results, we're erections. That dog bark was right on cue.
That was
sound effects.
Yes.
That comes with the libido territory, obviously. But the other side of the libido thing is even having an interest. Why a waning interest? Why are these things? Obviously, they're related to testosterone, estrogen for women, and imbalances as such, whether it's diet related, stress related. But it's amazing how many things are out there.
Yeah.
That are worth taking a look at, especially not just jumping to big pharma and the blue pill. There are a lot of other avenues to take, whether it's diet, like this vegan diet, or Tribulus, like this other gentleman. Tons of stuff. Yohimbe, horny goat weed is a big one too. So,
yep, she legit
to quit. She legit to quit. Lucas's eyes just got so.
You can't clap on the podcast.
I just did. We're breaking ground here, guys. But yeah, so it's cool, and I love working in the store for this fact that I get to see these things. That didn't sound right. He's doing the eyes again, and now I'm going, what did I say? But no, you get to see what works and what doesn't work, and you get to see how many people are getting benefits from certain products. So that's been great. And Tribulus is definitely one that I see keep coming back.
That is pretty cool.
No pun intended.
Yeah, that is really neat. And I've definitely used She Legit in the past, so I definitely want to have a show where we cover some She Legit, because that stuff is amazing. You
gave some of that to me, actually.
Did I?
Yeah. I like that too.
Did it work? How did it work for you? It seems like it works better for me than a lot of other people I talk to.
It didn't. I don't think I took it long enough. And
Okay.
I'll revisit it, but I don't like to take too many things at once because I don't know what's working, and I had already been taking a different formulation.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely felt invigorated, I guess is the best word.
Yeah.
I don't know about enhanced libido. But I have heard from other people that it works for them. Can you just speak to what She Legit is? Because it is kind of...
So it's a resin. It's not actually an herb. It comes from the Himalayas, and it oozes out of these rocks during springtime months. And it's basically a fulvic acid mix. So it's kind of like tar, but not really. It kind of has the smell and taste of tar, but it's not. It's an organic compound that's like these fermenting plants in these rocks. And what it ends up doing is it increases it stimulates your body to make this hormone called FSH, which is follicular stimulating hormone. And that makes your balls release more testosterone. And it works great. I mean, it just for confidence. The thing with men is in some ways, it is all about testosterone. It's like they live and die by testosterone. And
literally, they used to.
Yes, literally, yeah. The guy with the most testosterone won the battle.
That was it.
But the interesting thing also, when you learn more about testosterone, is you start to see, you can tell which guys are using like TRT and stuff like that. And they tend to be more ambitious, more, goal-oriented, confident. I mean, it just, if you are a man and you feel anxious and unsure about the world and stuff like that, get your T levels checked, because I bet you they're in the basement. And if you're really stressed, chronic stress, there's nothing that kills, testosterone levels like chronic stress. So
this is true.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And there's cool that there's a lot of natural stuff out there. I think you do have to be a little careful with some of that stuff, because it can mess with your blood pressure. It can mess with certain cardiovascular things. And so you just have to kind of be a little careful.
Yeah, look at drug interaction stuff. Definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. But the She Legit is kind of a newer thing. But that is just crazy to me how it's produced. And it just seems like something out of a sci-fi
I know.
movie.
And the studies are pretty robust. I mean, they show 25% increase in testosterone over, I want to say 3 months or something like that. And most of that increase is in the last month, which is interesting. The first 2 months, when they look at those guys, it's like 5% increase in testosterone. But the last month is when they get the real bump.
Wow.
But for some reason, for me, I'm so sensitive. Like I can take it for a couple days and I feel like more confident and all that stuff. So
Well, I think libido in general is definitely related to just overall drive and existence, just getting up in the morning sometimes. Not to say that you're getting up because you want to have sex or you want to impress the opposite sex or whatever it is, but there is something to that libido factor. Like, I'm just going to be real. Like, if there's a work crush or somebody at work that you have a certain draw to or chemistry with, it makes work more exciting and more bearable, in some ways, and that's just, I think, a small fraction of what the libido is, but I do see that as being something that is a driving factor for people. Mm-hmm. And the older you get, obviously you lose some of that libido and maybe even that drive to do things because you think, but I've seen it be reinvigorated through people just building up their libido, working out, even working out. I mean, working out is going to boost your natural testosterone levels, and help to, stimulate some things that might have fallen by the wayside.
I remember watching one time this YouTube video about this guy who did like steroids and talked about steroids. And apparently there's this movement in the steroid community where guys will take testosterone, or they'll want to take steroids. So we're not talking like testosterone replacement therapy. We're talking like huge testosterone levels. They want to take steroids for just a little while to kind of get a little bit of muscle and then like go natural. Right. They want like just a shortcut. But what they find is when they take the testosterone, when they take the steroids, their drive is so much higher. They want to go work out. They want to go do all these things. And when they stop taking it, all that plummets, and then they can't go work out. So there's so much ingrained with hormones and how we see the world and how we're oriented,
right?
And what opportunities come our way versus which ones don't. Just something I think about sometimes is you don't see a lot of like high testosterone guys in like caring for the elderly, and it just doesn't happen. They're not oriented that way. There's something about, and that could be true of women too. I'm not just saying guys. It could be true of women who are high testosterone too. So I don't know. It's really interesting stuff.
It is. Do you? What's your take on glandulars? What do you think about that?
So you're talking like adrenal glands,
like
thyroid
bovine
glands, and stuff like
exactly
that.
What people take for testosterone.
Yeah, and I think orchic. That's the testicle. Some guys eat that.
I mean, we sell a product that is literally ground up bull testicle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you snort that or?
I do.
Yeah, I don't know. They can be very powerful. They can be very destabilizing. It's like taking a whole cocktail of hormones and tipping it back, and there you go. I'd say the best results I've heard is from thyroid glandular.
Okay.
I've actually, talk to people who use it regularly and say, yeah, this is great. Adrenal glandular would probably come after that. And then the other stuff is a little bit more dicey, the testicles and all the liver and stuff like that. I think you can run into more problems with that than you can those first two, but
that's just my experience. Making me nauseous even thinking about those sitting on the shelf like that. And like, I don't, obviously the plant-based thing plays a part in that, but it just seems weird to me but then again, what native cultures, what would they do? They would eat all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that was their medicine for testosterone.
They did crazy stuff like Montezuma, the guy, I think, who was Montezuma? Was he an Amazonian? Or I don't know what.
Montezuma, I think he was up here, wasn't he?
No, he's like South America.
Was he?
I don't know. I
just know that he had a lot of revenge.
Yeah. No, but the actual guy Montezuma, not the parasite. The actual guy Montezuma, like he used to drink like 50 cups of like hot chocolate before he would go to his harem,
Really?
Wouldn't be surprised if they put a little testicle in there too.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely a big thing, part of the cultures, but now they bottle it. So,
yeah.
Great.
So, we ready to move on?
I think we are.
All right, we've covered the libido stuff. So I just want to touch on one more thing from last week. And I'm sure everybody has heard enough about EMF, EMR, for the entire year. But there was a recent study that I felt I really needed to bring up because some of its findings affect my recommendations from part 2 of of the podcast from last week. Okay. So I talked a lot about how to build a Faraday cage and shielding material, and I want to amend that because this study, and it was just published at the end of February this year, so a couple months ago. It's not that long, and it comes from the National Center for Scientific Research in Athens, Greece. And in that study, the author reviews the current methods of shielding EMR out there, including Faraday cages, special paints, silly pendants, and other methods that we talked about. I hate those damn pendants.
I wish you guys could see his face when he was just even saying pendants and the movement that he did to describe that. I could sense how much you hated them. Okay, I'm sorry.
Anyway, so this is actually an interesting story. So they talk about some of the drawbacks of shielding. Apparently, there was a study in the 60s in Germany where they put two groups of people in these underground apartments. So one was completely shielded from EMR, so like a Faraday cage, and the other was not. And the researchers, they studied these two groups. Neither of them knew which was in the shielded apartment, so it's blind. So what they found was that the people who stayed in the Faraday cage began to have problems with their circadian rhythm. So there's this atmospheric natural EMF that we are all exposed to called the Schumann resonance. Yeah, really? Discovered by a guy named Schumann.
Okay.
And this EMR has been with humanity forever, and it's an integral part of our body's ability to keep track of the 24-hour day.
Wow.
So living in a Faraday cage cuts you off from those natural frequencies. So these people who were cut off from the frequencies, they desynchronize, and their biology starts living as if the day is 29 hours long.
What?
So this can cause depression, sleep disorders, impulsive behaviors, and mania, cardiovascular disease, increased cancer risk.
What? Where are these naturally coming from?
So it's a Schumann resonance. It comes from the sky and the earth and the sun. It's like this natural EMF that is always with us.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, Navy soldiers who work and live in submarines, they have a lot of these same issues because they are basically in big metal tubes underwater and cut off from the Schumann resonance.
Wow.
Yeah. So the researchers found that when they placed an EMF emitter device within the Schumann, or that corresponds to the Schumann resonance in the metal shielded apartment, those desynchronized effects went away. So actually, the paper recommends that if you work in like a metal box, or if you work in any kind of like closed in space with metal all around, you need to get outside as often as possible so you don't desynchronize.
So like the receiving area of the store that I used to spend my every waking hour.
Well, I mean, is it metal all around? I mean, you got door. And
yeah, I felt really off when I worked in no, because I had the freezer door and I had all those walls and I had...
Oh, interesting.
Before they tore the wall down. Because I had the fridge on both sides.
Oh, wow.
So I definitely felt major effects from that. And I actually made jokes about it all the time, but I think there was something to that.
Wow. Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I found online there are several Schumann resonance emitters that range in price from $50 to $300. I'm not sure how well they work, but I'll put the links in the show notes. And so if you do build one of these Faraday cages, maybe a good idea to get one of these things. The paper also found that not only are those silly pendants useless, like we talked about, they can actually amplify or strengthen any EMR that hits it. So if you have one of these things against your body, it can become a hotspot, which is like the exact opposite reason you are buying this stupid little thing.
Oh, gosh.
And by the way, this is also true of shielding. So, if any shielding can become a hotspot. So if you have a Faraday cage made of like aluminum screen door material, touching the cage will transfer some of what it's blocking into you. So
what the heck?
You just want to be careful. The authors recommend avoidance. Like I said, best case scenario, you move. But if you're going to be shielding, it can be a little iffy if you're not done properly. And I just wanted to make sure this was out there. Get a Schumann resonance emitter if you're going to live in a Faraday cage so you don't desynchronize and hurt yourself.
I'm going to go live in a cave after this.
I wonder if you can get... I wonder if a cave gets Schumann emitter stuff.
I'll have a Schumann... What are those things called? A Wi-Fi...
Yeah.
extender. I'm going to get a Schumann extender for my cave.
Well, they build like little pocket ones too. Like you can put one in your pocket and people dig them. I don't know what it is about, but
this world is weird.
It's cool, man.
I like it though.
Yeah. All right.
That was cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, that's what I got off my shoulders and my plate, and more than enough. And looking at your face right now, he's giving me the "let's wrap this up, guys" face.
So, thanks for listening, guys. If you have any feedback for us, email us quaxpodcast@gmail.com. Sorry about that. We're also on iTunes. We're everywhere. We're on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. You can get the podcast anywhere you like. SoundCloud. And next week, we're going to talk about boron. Really interesting stuff. If you have arthritis or weak bones or low hormones, I mean, the stuff is amazing. So you're really going to want to listen in if you have any of those issues.
I'd like to find out more.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Be well.
Crying.